I've been asked not to post anything about this, but frankly I don't give a shit anymore. I think I just need some feedback for what I'm going through. I don't know how to process all this. So my boyfriend Greg was amazing. He was actually better than that. Seriously, the only thing wrong with him was his love of scary movies. I'm not talking like Freddy stuff or It. I'm talking about the really twisted stuff. No sexual violence or anything, but super violent and gory. I guess I figured that I could change him, or as he got older, that he'd stop watching shit like that because in every other way, he was exactly what I always looked for in a guy. I moved in with him just 2 months after meeting him. My parents freaked, even though they lived together for 5 years before they got married. Come to find out, I also had a habit that Greg wasn't too fond of. I'm a picker, I don't know why. Lots of my friends are too. There's something satisfying about it. If Greg had a whitehead, I was on it. He was right up front that he thought it was weird and gross, but he also liked watching movies where dudes had their balls ripped off and eyes gouged out. So he couldn't really talk. Last week he put on one of his movies, and I just couldn't stand it. It was late anyway, so I told him that I was going to bed. I asked him to turn the TV down, but I could still hear it in the bedroom, so I put on some reruns of The Office and fell asleep. I woke up in the middle of the night. Greg was asleep, but in the dim light of the TV, I could see that he had 2 huge whiteheads on the back of his neck. I really wanted to get them. We'd only been together for 5 months, so I wasn't sure if doing that to him while he was asleep would be considered some kind of violation. I tried to go to sleep. I worried he might scratch them in his sleep, and I wouldn't get the chance to squeeze them myself. I tossed and I turned for like almost an hour before I couldn't stand it anymore. His back was to me, so I whispered in his ear, Greg, are you awake? No, you've got 2 huge zits on the back of your neck. So what? Come on. Go to sleep, Julie. You're going to ruin it. His voice was scratchy and annoyed. Please, I promise I'll get them and then let you go back to sleep. Whatever. I got out of bed and grabbed a handful of toilet paper. I almost slipped. The floor was still wet, so I thought Greg must have just taken a shower not too long ago. I got back in bed and I went to work. I squeezed the smaller one first. It was really hard. It must have been under a lot of pressure because when it popped it squirted all over my thumbs. I squeezed until just a little blood came out, and then I moved on to the big one. Greg shifted his weight and groaned. I'm almost finished, I swear. Don't be a baby. The second one was a huge gusher and it smelled. Some of it squirted in my hair. It was crazy, it seriously would not stop gushing. The toilet paper was getting soaked while all this stuff poured out of it, and it smelled like straight up death. I realized that it was about to get all over the sheets. Hold on, don't move. I jumped out of bed and ran for the bathroom. I was going to get a towel, but I slipped on the wet floor and my arms went out to keep me from falling. My right hand hit the light switch. The entire floor was covered in blood. Greg was sitting in the bathtub. His hair had been cut off and blood had run down his face. His mouth was open and his tongue was gone. I heard the bed move behind me. In the mirror, I could see someone dressed in Greg's pajamas, holding a knife, moving towards me. I screamed and I slammed the door shut. I locked it. Julie. It was Greg's voice. Julie. God, I can't get that voice out of my fucking head. I opened one of the drawers and pulled out the pair of tiny scissors that Greg kept in there. I wanted to just curl up in a fucking ball and scream, but the voice outside the bathroom door kept calling my name. I knew I was about to hyperventilate or pass out. I tried my best to not lose it. I saw the toilet plunger and grabbed it. I unscrewed the wooden handle from the rubber end, and I backed away from the door. I stared at Greg's body. I screamed at whoever it was to go away. He just kept saying my name over and over and softly scratching the door. I swear it sounded exactly like Greg. He started laughing and jiggling the door handle. My phone was by my bed, there was nowhere to go. After a few minutes, I heard some kind of click, and then there was nothing for a long time until I heard a crunch. I have to go now, Julie. He started stuffing something under the door. I didn't know what it was at first, but then I realized that it was Greg's bloody scalp. Once he had pushed it through, my phone was next. He had broken the screen. I waited in that bathroom for a few more minutes until I heard sirens. I started to scream for help until the cops finally came inside. When the cops escorted me out of the bathroom, I noticed a trail of a yellow-green gunk that ran from the bathroom door back to a pool of it on the bed. I remembered the zits, and I looked down at my hands and realized that they were covered in the shit. I screamed and passed out. No one knows who broke into our house, killed Greg, and almost killed me. He had taken several selfies with my phone and sent them in texts to several of my friends and family. Tons of people called the cops. Some of the pictures showed him wearing Greg's hair, and some of them show him with a bald, bloody head. I'd like to say that he was scary looking, but he was just an ordinary looking guy with a bald head. His eyes looked dead though, like there was nothing behind them. His smile was wide and he had perfect teeth. They're not letting us post his pictures anywhere because it might hurt the investigation. I'm also not allowed to say where this happened. I feel like I'm going crazy. I guess I just want to put this out there. Always lock your doors and windows. Thank you for listening till the end. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling tales. Let me know in the comments what scares you the most. Until next time, and be careful in the dark.